Most tomato growers blame bad seeds, poor weather, or pests when their plants stay small and weak, but the real reason most tomatoes never reach their full size is far simpler and, honestly, far cheaper. There is one overlooked, almost laughably inexpensive soil trick that quietly separates average harvests from those jaw-dropping, heavy, vine-bending tomatoes. Once you understand it, you will never plant tomatoes the same way again. Subscribe now to Nature's Blueprint, because this is one of those techniques you only need to learn once to benefit for life. The real reason tomatoes stay small: tomatoes are heavy feeders, but not in the way most people think. They don't want constant fertilizer poured on the surface. They want slow, steady access to minerals, moisture, and oxygen deep in the root zone. When roots hit compacted soil or nutrient-poor layers, growth stalls, fruit size shrinks, flowers drop. No fertilizer can fix a root system that never had room to expand. The $2 secret that changes everything. The secret is simple: cardboard. Plain, untreated cardboard, used correctly, transforms soil structure, water retention, and root depth. When buried beneath tomatoes, cardboard becomes a slow-feeding carbon layer that feeds soil life, attracts earthworms, and prevents nutrients from leaching away. This creates a living sponge underground, where tomato roots explode outward instead of struggling. How cardboard works underground? Cardboard breaks down slowly, unlike fresh organic matter that heats up or steals nitrogen. As microbes digest it, they create humus, the dark, crumbly material responsible for rich soil. Earthworms are drawn to this zone and leave behind castings packed with plant-available nutrients. The cardboard layer also holds moisture during heat waves while preventing waterlogging after heavy rain. So, let's talk about how to prepare the cardboard layer correctly. It's important to use clean cardboard without any glossy coatings or heavy ink, Make sure to remove all tape and labels too. Lay the cardboard flat and soak it completely before planting. This step is crucial because it prevents the cardboard from repelling water and really helps it bond with the surrounding soil right away. Now, here's the exact planting method for growing huge tomatoes. First, dig a planting hole that's deeper than usual, at least 30 to 40 centimeters deep. Then, place a fully soaked piece of cardboard at the bottom of the hole. On top of that cardboard, add a layer of compost about 5 centimeters thick. This acts as a transition layer where roots can feed, while microbes start breaking down the cardboard below. For the deep planting technique, you'll want to plant the tomato deeply, burying about 2/3 of the stem. Tomatoes actually form roots along their buried stems, which, dramatically increases their nutrient uptake. Finally, backfill with native soil mixed lightly with compost, and then water thoroughly. Container tomatoes benefit even more, This method works exceptionally well in containers. Use pots that hold at least 20 liters, though, honestly, larger is always better. Place a soaked cardboard layer at the bottom of the container before adding soil. This prevents nutrients from washing out of drainage holes and creates a long-term feeding zone. Container tomatoes grown this way often outperform garden-grown plants. The soil mix that supports massive fruit is really important. Tomatoes thrive in rich but breathable soil. Use a high-quality potting mix combined with compost and worm castings. A good ratio is 3 parts potting mix to 1 part compost. Avoid heavy garden soil in containers, as it compacts and suffocates roots. Feeding tomatoes without overdoing it is key. Tomatoes do not need constant feeding if the soil is built correctly. Once flowers appear, support fruit development with compost tea. Use 1 cup of finished compost, soaked in 5 liters of water for 12 to 24 hours. And stir occasionally. Water the soil around the plant, not the leaves, once every 2 weeks. This feeds microbes rather than forcing growth. Watering for size, not stress. Inconsistent watering can lead to cracking, blossom end rot, and uneven growth. It's important to keep the soil consistently moist but never soggy. Deep watering encourages roots to grow downward into the cardboard-rich zone, while shallow watering just keeps roots weak and surface-bound. Mulch really does seal the system. After planting, go ahead and apply a thick layer of organic mulch around the plant. Straw, dry leaves, or wood chips all work well. This mulch prevents moisture loss, regulates soil temperature, and even feeds microbes as it breaks down. Just remember to keep mulch a few centimeters away from the stem to prevent rot. Sun exposure determines fruit weight, plain and simple. Tomatoes require full sun, ideally 8 or more hours each day. Without enough light, plants tend to grow tall but weak, producing small fruit. Interestingly, heat is less important than light. Even in warm climates, shade can reduce yield dramatically. Supporting heavy vines early is, honestly, essential. Large tomatoes mean heavy vines, and, well, those vines need a bit of help. Support plants early with cages or stakes. If you wait until the plants are loaded with fruit, you risk stem damage and restrict airflow. Proper support also reduces disease by keeping foliage off the soil. Pruning for bigger tomatoes is a smart move. Selective pruning directs energy into fewer fruits, increasing their size. It's important to remove lower leaves that touch the soil and, thin excessive side shoots if plants become overly dense. But remember, balance is key. Too much pruning reduces photosynthesis, while too little creates chaos. Why does this method keep working year after year? Well, as cardboard breaks down, it leaves behind stable organic matter that, actually improves soil structure permanently. Each season really just builds on the last. Worm populations increase, soil becomes darker and looser, and tomatoes grown in the same area improve rather than decline, which is honestly the opposite of conventional gardening advice. Let's talk about some common mistakes that can, unfortunately, ruin your results. Using glossy cardboard, skipping the soaking step, or planting too shallowly really weakens the effect. Over-fertilizing also defeats the purpose by forcing top growth at the expense of root development. So just let the soil do the work. Harvesting at peak size and flavor is key. Pick tomatoes when they're fully colored but still firm. Regular harvesting actually encourages continued production. And large tomatoes benefit from early morning harvests when the fruits are coolest and most hydrated. If this method helped you rethink how tomatoes should be grown, go ahead and subscribe to Nature's Blueprint and, share this with someone who still thinks bigger harvests require more chemicals. Nature already solved this problem. We just forgot how to listen.